About 10 years ago, my 3-year-old son and I moved house. It was a very old building, and the inside of the house always seemed to be just a little darker and a little colder than it should have been. Not long after we moved in, a friend of mine came to visit. The whole time we were sitting and talking, she seemed very uncomfortable. When I looked at her face, I noticed that something in the other room had caught her attention. Her eyes grew wide and she said, "I have to go." I asked her what's wrong, but she refused to tell me. Her odd reaction was freaking me out, so I kept after her. On her way to the door, she finally blurted out, "This house is haunted." But she wouldn't tell me what it was that made her think so. To this day, she still refuses to tell me what she saw. About a week later, my 3-year-old son casually asked me who the old lady in the bathroom was. One day, I was leaving for work, but once I got to the car, I realized I needed to run back in the house to get something. I walked into the house, and as soon as I got inside, this framed photo on the wall shot off the wall. It didn't fall down. It shot horizontally away from the wall, and it landed on a mosaic table with enough force to break some tiles off of it. I felt like whatever was in the house was pissed that I came back in after it thought I had left for the day. After living in the house for about 6 months, I noticed a weird square cut into the boards on the deck. There was no handle, but I was able to pry it up. The hole was just big enough to fit through, and there was a ladder going down. For some reason, I went down and found myself in what looked like a homemade basement. It was basically just a room dug out of the earth with no constructed walls or stone supports or anything like that. It was very dark, but I could see something over in the corner. It was a suspicious-looking stone. It looked like one of those old headstones you can see in cemeteries. Just then some insects started jumping on me, so I got out of that basement as fast as I could and never went back. Now, this is the part that affected me the most. It's also the reason we left the house. One night I was in bed, laying on my stomach, just about to fall asleep. I heard someone walk into the room. The footsteps came from the doorway over to my bed. I didn't realize until later that the fact that I heard the footsteps was weird, because the room was carpeted. When the footsteps reached my bed, I felt someone put their hands on my back. 2 hands just gently laid flat on my back and kept there. I assumed it was my son. "What are you doing?" I asked, but there was no answer. I looked up and no one was there. I got up and checked my son's bedroom, but he was in bed, fast asleep. We moved out soon after that. Roth explained that she and a co-worker returned to their hotel after a productive day. As she opened the door to her room, she noticed a woman in the bathroom. Assuming it was housekeeping, Victoria announced her presence, saying hello, but got no response. She then noticed her clothes in the hands of the woman in the bathroom and knew something was up. She questioned the woman, who would only mumble something about how her key still worked. The woman attempted to leave with a bag, but she let Victoria search it to prove she hadn't taken anything, so Roth let her go. After the woman left, Victoria noticed her room had been ransacked, but her electronics, passport, and clothes hadn't been taken. However, the woman did get into Victoria's medicine, so she tried to chase her down but couldn't find her, so she called the police. The cops showed up and found a flashlight on the bed and, strangely, some drywall in the sink. With no signs of forced entry and nothing else to go on, the police figured the woman had some kind of spare key that she used to access the room, though the hotel was adamant that couldn't be the case. Since the woman seemingly wasn't anywhere nearby, the cops left, but the drywall kept bothering Victoria, who then decided to move the mirror above the sink. There, she found a huge hole. Two of the police officers were still parked in the lot, so Victoria got them back to the room to show them what she discovered. Inside the hole was a pillow, blankets, cigarettes, clothes, and toothbrush. The woman had been living in the wall. Victoria packed up and left, but not before realizing how long the woman likely lived there. Roth recalled that the last time she stayed at the hotel, she randomly smelled cigarettes, but assumed someone in a neighboring room was just smoking in their bathroom. She later learned that the woman had access to other rooms too, since the holes in the walls were from a renovation and the hotel just chose to cover them up with mirrors instead of patching them.